So this is pretty serious because I think the last point we checked was 70 plus had died. So this is a serious tragedy.
Over 2,000 have been injured.
2,000 injuries.
Yeah, the hospitals are full now.
Totally.
It's a
Yeah,
shame
man.
for, sending out, our thoughts to all those people that have been harmed today and all the
For those that
explosions.
haven't been following, it was a massive explosion in Beirut. On one of the port is completely destroyed. There's a bunch of videos, of slow-mo videos, man. This video is horrifying. Now, what's disconcerting is whether or not this was an attack. Trump says massive explosion in Beirut appears to be an attack, but local officials are still investigating, from USA Today. They say Trump said Tuesday that U.S. military officials advised him that a massive explosion in Beirut appeared to be an attack, though he offered little detail to explain how his administration had come to that conclusion. This, I got to stop. I hate the media so much.
Yeah.
Is Trump going to give you classified information every single step of the way? He's like, here's what the advisors have said. Trump, without evidence, is claiming the military told him it was an attack. Shut up. It's the president.
Yeah,
we don't know how he decided that.
They like to forget that part of it.
Yeah.
Like, no, he's just Trump. And it's like, okay, he's also the president of the United States of America. You think that he's going to let you know everything he knows? No, come on.
It's so insane.
Agreed.
I've got a couple tweets from local journalists saying, here's what may have happened. How did the military advise? Shut up. They have satellites, dude. They can spy on people. At least 60 people were killed and thousands were wounded in an explosion that caused widespread damage in the Lebanese capital. Trump said he had been briefed by our great generals and that they seemed to feel that the explosion was not an accident. According to them, they would know better than I would, but they seemed to think it was an attack, Trump told reporters at the White House. It was a bomb of some kind. The blast followed a fire that broke out in the city's port area. Based on multiple videos from the scene, it looks like a terrible attack, Trump said during his opening remarks. Our prayers go out to all the victims and their families, he said. The United States stands ready to assist Lebanon. Though the cause of the explosion is yet to be officially determined, Abbas Ibrahim, chief of Lebanese General Security, said it might have been caused by highly explosive material that was stored at the port after it was confiscated from a ship. In a tweet on the Lebanese presidential account, the material was identified as ammonium nitrate, citing Prime Minister Hassan Diab as saying, "It is unacceptable that a shipment of ammonium nitrate estimated at 2,750 tons has been present for 6 years in a warehouse without taking preventative measures that endanger the safety of citizens." So that's the gist here. This is the most important part, is Trump saying it looks like an attack.
Yeah.
Now, however, he said it looks like a bomb of some kind. That may be just him. I think if he's being told by some military generals it looks like an attack, it could be they watched it and said it looked like an attack. Maybe in the experience of these generals at first, glancing of the video, a lot of people speculated that. I don't know to what degree they may have, we've got spy satellites, we've got spy drones and all that stuff.
Well, he specifically said based on what the bomb looked like, the way that it exploded and went up. Well, he didn't say that about it going up, but he was saying based on looking at the bomb itself, the type of explosion, that's what they were going off of, which makes sense because it did go up, it didn't go out. So it did seem, controlled. Well,
some people there was a lot of speculation that it was a grain silo.
Okay.
Because that would cause it to go boom straight up into the air.
Okay.
And it didn't spread out. It went up, the shock wave went out and ripped everything apart, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And then because the blast went straight up, there's this guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he was one of the guys who was praising the riots until they came to his house.
Okay.
And then he started freaking out.
Oh, I remember this, yeah.
He tweeted that it was a nuke. And when a bunch of experts were saying, stop, please, it's not a nuke, he started telling them off. He's like, nope, looks like it's got a mushroom cloud. It's like, dude, there were a bunch of experts talking about how it looks like it had an oxidizer. They're like, this explosion seems to be like this. And there's some interesting things I want to highlight. So first we have this from Bill Neely, NBC, just basically giving us NBC confirmation of what the Prime Minister said. 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate left unsecured for 6 years. How is that? How can that be real life? That seems insane to me.
Yeah, agreed.
But so I've got some tweets I want to highlight. This is from Ahmed Shihab Eldin. He says, I hate speculating, but trusted sources on the ground whose homes are destroyed are claiming the fireworks storage story in Lebanese media doesn't make sense. And they had heard planes before, raising their suspicions this was an attack on hidden weapons, possibly. Now, here's the important part of this. Was it an attack? We don't know. Whatever caused the explosion, some people say it may have just been a regular old fire. Fires happen, man. But
True.
what's interesting is that Ahmed Shihab al-Din tweeted this at a time when everyone was saying it was a fireworks explosion. It was just fireworks in a warehouse. And in one of the videos, you can see popping and sparkling. People were saying it looked like fireworks, but that could just be some kind of, ordnance or something. I have no idea, just blowing up. We've seen a ton of videos of fireworks factories blowing up. You see the fireworks going off when they're blowing up.
Yeah.
So what was
true.
interesting is that he mentions at this time when everyone was saying it was fireworks, nah, it doesn't seem right based on my sources, but also that trusted people on the ground had heard planes. Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Because maybe it's something more.
I mean, I was looking at, people have tagged me in different videos, said like, look, you can see something in the sky, a missile dropped, and there's one that everyone keeps sharing, and it looks like just a bird.
Yeah.
And then I have watched almost every single video of this that I could find, and not one time did I see anything fall from the sky that would have looked like a bomb of any sort. I don't think that's what it was.
And what's scary is how hard would it be for someone to just make a video that just manipulate CGI.
That's a good point.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Find a video and be like, look.
But I mean, as it was happening, I was watching it. I was, people were posting all these videos nonstop. So I was watching each one as they were popping up in my timeline and being shared. So I don't feel like it would have been consistent, I guess, if it was something from the sky, it would have been in all of the videos. And since I've seen so many, enough today, like easily over 20 videos, different views from different locations, and it did not look like something from the sky.
All right, well, I'm going to show you this tweet from Ahmed al-Din, Shihab al-Din as well. And, just pointing out that my understanding is both Lebanon and Israel have disavowed it was an attack.
Both sides.
Okay. So that could be really important because we can assume it to be true. It's coming, so if they're both saying it, it could also be, them being like, we do not want war.
Right.
And imagine this. Let's say Israel did strike Lebanon, taking this, it went straight up, which really did minimize collateral damage for the city, fortunately. I find that interesting considering if this stuff was just sitting in a warehouse, how did it go straight up? Who knows, I guess. But it could just be that Lebanon said, we do not want war. If word gets out that Israel did this, there's no stopping the public from demanding it. And so it's better just to have everyone be like, no, we do not want war. However, Ahmed Shihab al-Din says context matters. The huge explosion in Beirut this morning follows a string of Israeli strikes on Damascus, Syria, and a dire warning from Netanyahu this morning against Hezbollah, saying, we will do whatever necessary. Keeping in mind, I want to show you this. Israel not behind Beirut blasts. Sources on both sides say at least 10 killed. So this is early in the day when they said both sides disavow.
Yeah.
Now I've had a couple people already say, to me that they don't think it's got to be some kind of accident because it's out of the blue.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere this happened, right? It's not true. See, people don't pay attention to what's going on around the world, especially when we're dealing with China and when we're dealing with stuff here at home. But I have this story from Al Jazeera. Lebanon's Hezbollah accuses Israel of fabricating border clash.
Oh.
Tensions high in northern Israel days after Hezbollah fighter killed in apparent Israeli airstrike in Syria. So yeah, tensions have been firing up, man.
Yep.
I think it's, I don't know what the right word is for this, but we're concerned about, I guess, World War III or some kind of dramatic escalation, but it's with China, not the Middle East and Iran. Though we have seen conflict with, Iran, we had our Navy ships going in the Gulf, the Gulf, and then the Iranian boats are like zipping around, and then there's been threats like, we will fire on you. So yeah, maybe.
Oh, and then they built a mock American Air Force ship and sank it. And then it actually, this is kind of funny, it's blocking their port of entry so that they can't even get boats in because it's sitting sideways.
Good work, guys.
And it didn't sink all the way.
The Three Stooges of war.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll show you, America.
Pretty bad.
Now we can't get our boats in.
Mm-hmm. They got their weapons from Acme.
Seriously?
What if, Trump is saying it looks like an attack? What if the U.S. thinks it is? Does it really matter what other people say? And, if it is, what happens if we go to war, man? I think we'd have Trump for another several terms, whether people like it or not,
Yeah.
Because people are not going to want to change out a president during war, even with term limits.
That's a good point.
And that's what happened in World War II. Granted, we put in term limits after the fact. So, maybe look, the severity, the scale of this explosion is what's crazy to me, because I've dealt with news stories pertaining to Israel, the Middle East, the conflict, Iran and Israel, Syria, Hezbollah for years now, reading news, covering this stuff. And I remember we had, I think it was called like Protective Edge was one of the pillar of defense. These are like 2 operations that Israel took against Palestine. And a lot of journalists in the area or experts in the area were telling me like, oh man, like, could this be the spark of a new intifada or like an actual conflict that's going to trigger Iran going up against, Israel because they're pushing too hard on Palestine and stuff like this? The conversations happen all the time.
Yeah.
But this explosion is something totally different, man.
Yeah, I mean,
this was like
the
people
whole
thought it was
world
a
right
nuke.
now it feels tense. The pressures between, Asia and the like Australia and everything. Even between America and China, and now we've got this going on.
I hate to say it, but
it's tense.
It may seem like we're all hyper focused on China, the South China Sea. Australia entering the fray essentially, and the Venezuela. Man, the story of the Venezuelan Navy trying to ram that German cruise liner and then sinking their own ship.
Oh yeah, that's right, Venezuela.
So we have all these stories that kind of make us think we're getting dangerously close to war, especially China. And then this happens, and a lot of people immediately feel like it came out of nowhere. And I'm like, dude, it's just another grain of sand dropped in the heap of conflict, international conflict, which makes me scared because all of these things are tied together.
Can we show this? This is unconfirmed.
Show it.
So this is I'll just show this picture. This is actually the warehouse that exploded today.
Oh yeah.
So now this is another picture of what looks like the same door and just bags of this ammonium nitrate. So and they're just shoved in there. It doesn't even look like. I mean,
it says Nitropril HD on it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what that is, but. I mean, it seems like this warehouse is just packed with this stuff.
So here, let me show this too. So check it out. Here's the doors, and you can see the 2 different colors on top and the lighter ground bottom, and that's what we're seeing. They're standing at the door. There's the different colors on top, and there's the lighter colors on the bottom, and gigantic bags.
Yeah.
Nitropril HD.
It's a mining thing, almost like a fertilizer.
Yep. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, it's prilled ammonium nitrate.
So
ammonium nitrate.
I think that
might be it.
It's very speculative right now. We're trying to figure out what's going on. I'm just going to say, look, there's tensions going on right now. We have the story from Al Jazeera, July 28th, 2020. Tensions high in northern Israel. Clashes. Ahmed Shihab al-Din says that there was a dire warning issued.
Yep.
And so for those who aren't familiar, he's a journalist, and he worked for a bunch of different outlets, including Al Jazeera. I'm not sure where he's currently working right now. But he's a journalist with tons of sources on the ground. And so I trust him if he's saying his sources are telling him these things, and here's what's happening. These are important things to highlight. I hope it's not war.
Yeah, I hope not. But there is Carlos Asuida. I didn't bring up the tweet, but I have it right here. And he talks about how we can't show a lot of these pictures because they're pretty graphic, but
yeah, man,
they're you see how the buildings aren't because the explosion went up, all right, and if it went out, it would have done a lot more damage to surrounding buildings. So
there wouldn't be buildings.
That's correct.
Yeah,
exactly. There would have been a significant more damage to the surrounding buildings, and he's talking about it, and he goes on to explain how he thinks that it was actually pyrotechnic drones that people could have mapped out the inside of the warehouse and
targeted
it. I'm just going to read it directly. It's easier to just read it. He says, he believes that it's pyrotechnic drones and surveillance drones would have allowed a 3D digital model of the inside of the warehouse to be constructed. Using that model, it would have been possible to figure out how to deflagrate the warheads and rocket fuel in such a way that the blasts could be directed. Basically, you could shape the blast effect. And the use of explosive vapor, air fuel explosives, gives you the ability to shape the blast effect and direct it wherever you want. And the patents for this technology goes all the way back to the 1960s. So this is not new technology. And then you think about what people can do with drones and fly like tiny little drones. And he goes and has another few examples of people using drones in specific attacks.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about it, but
people dying.
You can go look it up yourself if you'd like.
So look, I don't know a whole lot about this tech, specifically.
Neither do I. But I found it interesting though.
When Adam brought this up to me earlier, saying that why is it this blast went straight up? Because I'll say this: If these things were just littered about a warehouse, wouldn't the explosion have been perfectly outward?
Yes, exactly.
Instead, it went straight up, and the shockwave goes outward.
Yeah.
And it left a bunch of buildings extremely damaged but intact.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the blast. I don't know, but you see all the smoke and the fire go straight up, almost straight up.
So check this out. Actually, this is the Texas City disaster. Now, this happened in 1947. And it's actually a very similar amount of ammonium nitrate. So this was 2,200 tons of ammonium nitrate was docked as cargo next to, I don't remember what port it was. I'm not seeing where it was.
Port of Texas.
So
Galveston Bay.
So it was the Port of Texas. And this blew up the same.
Whoa.
And it's interesting. Now this is a quarter of a mile away. This, you can see, like, these cars were demolished.
A quarter of a mile away.
Looks
a quarter of a mile
volcano.
away.
Yeah, wait. Look here. At the bottom, you can't see it because our image just cut it off. It says, parking lot 1/4 of a mile, 400 meters from the explosion. And these cars, their paint is ripped off. The windows are gone.
Yeah. Now
That didn't happen in
Now
Beirut.
windows were blown out everywhere.
Yeah, right.
But
And
that
like
was
miles
the
away or something.
shockwave. But it didn't look like this.
Yeah.
This was exploding out and
The
up
heat and
everywhere.
fire and everything with it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And it was less. This
But
was
listen.
2,200 tons, where this was 2,700 tons.
It could be that a lot of the buildings around it absorbed it from, going out further or so.
No, not at
but
all.
Hold on. I was going to say, people pointed out that they thought it was a grain silo because
Okay.
of how many experts on Twitter, verified blue checks, we'll call it that because I'm not going to pretend like that blue check means anything at this point.
Right.
But hey, to the best of our understanding,
Yeah.
they were like, looks like a grain silo because the blast went straight up.
Well,
like
look-
something channeled the explosion.
So look, this is the buildings next to it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so now that you've seen this, now again, we're not going to show what happened today, but you can see cardboard boxes in the neighboring buildings.
People are still driving on
that
the
are
roads
still
and-
in okay shape. They still look like a cardboard box.
Right.
Now this is from 1947, and it just
And nothing.
ripped that building apart. So it clearly it went straight up. It didn't go out.
So it could have been an underground storage of some sort,
Okay.
perhaps, that channeled it. But ultimately, here's what I think.
How would they have done that though? How would you have, what explain, like, how, what do you mean by an underground
the way a gun
explosion?
works, right? You have
Okay.
a barrel
Mhm.
and you put explosives in it, and when it pops, the blast goes straight forward.
So I know, but how would they have done that though?
So let's say underneath that warehouse was a secret weapons cache and explosives cache
Okay.
in a steel, and concrete structure.
I see.
It blows up and it fires up like a cannon. That's why people are saying grain silo, because like it would blow up and then fire out, in a massive
okay.
explosion. I don't know, but I'll tell you this: we can speculate as to whatever we want, but there's one thing that I think is very important. When you brought up the use of drones and directed explosions and air pressure and stuff, do you think that since we created ballistic missiles and intercontinental ballistic missiles, we just went, we're done? If Elon Musk, if Elon Musk is like, I'm going to fire a rocket and then land that rocket and use it again, don't you think governments have been like, I wonder what we can do with explosives, right?
Well, I mean, there was like 2 months ago, there was I don't remember exactly who was targeted, but there was someone who was targeted out in the Middle East somewhere, and they dropped a bomb onto the car, and it wasn't an explosive. It was like
an implosive or something.
Yeah, well, I don't remember exactly. It was like it sheared the car from the inside, and with no explosion, and you just saw the car, like, it just looked like
remember
that.
that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so cool.
I could picture it in my head, but I don't remember the details
Brother
at
was
all.
talking about
But
it.
that's an example of like where we are technologically. It's like we're not just shooting missiles at each other now.
In the era of propagandistic warfare, because information travels instantly.
Yep.
All of these countries know that they cannot, in certain circumstances, have collateral damage. Otherwise, they're the bad guys.
Yep.
If they're going to do a targeted strike on like a high-profile terrorist or, assassinate some, fringe government's, leader or something, whatever they're going to do in warfare, if they take out civilians or hurt civilians, they're going to deal with what Obama was dealing with, and he was killing civilians.
Yep.
And a lot of people were mad about it, and it made him look like the bad guy. I mean, it made him the bad guy.
Yeah.
But if I have to imagine, even a lot of the things that we've seen, when we see these missile strikes from drones, when we see, Apache helicopters taking out groups, that's the stuff they want you to know about. That's the stuff they don't care that you know about it.
Right. Just like we were talking about earlier when Trump was like, we believe that it was an attack. Do you think he's going to tell us the inner details
Right,
of
exactly.
what he knows?
He
Come
hasn't
on.
revealed how his advisors know it was an attack. It's like, right. So the generals with the highest level of security clearance talking to the president saying this was something, this was an antimatter, maglev driven, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like things that none of the public knows about. They're not just going to come out and say it. Here's what's crazy about that, though. Imagine they do have the ability to, potentially trigger an explosion in such a way. So let me put it this way. In the video, you can see a bunch of pops happening.
Yeah.
Like little bright lights.
Yeah, definitely.
What if they used smaller explosions, is what you're basically saying, to control the larger explosion, right?
Well, some say that there was an article I read that it was a munitions, and those popping that we saw could have been the warheads that blew up before the ammonium nitrate went up.
The fire was burning and it was blowing up,
exactly.
Ordnance or whatever.
The warheads, the ordnance, and then it finally reached the other stuff. But even if it did, we saw what happened in 1947. Like, that was an insane explosion, knocking everything out.
Maybe they were secretly storing weapons underground.
And it blew it up.
And now they're just saying, it was just that we had almost 3,000 tons just unsecured for years.
Yeah, so weird.
Otherwise, they have to admit we've been secretly storing weapons on the port.
We forgot about it.
Listen, man.
Let me see if I could find that article
I
that
think
talks about it being munition. Go ahead.
I do not think it would be an unfair assessment to say that they're smuggling in weapons into the port because...
Makes sense.
Because they want to give weapons to Palestine.
It's a port. Absolutely. That would be where they ended up.
They bring it to the port of Lebanon and they use it to smuggle it in through tunnels through Israel into Palestine.
Underground.
I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on this stuff though, but I did work around a lot of people who were, and I've talked to them a little bit. So that's why I defer to these other people on Twitter.
Yeah.
But anyway, the main point I was bringing up before is if we want to take somebody out and we know it's going to be all over the press, I say we, but if somebody wants to take out a secret weapons cache, and they know it's in a city, that's clever, because like we see in Palestine, these groups they fire rockets from schools, from hospitals.
Yeah.
That way, if anyone retaliates, it's very similar to what Antifa does when they stand behind some fat middle-aged mom. Then when they engage in violence and the cops push her out of the way, they say, "Help! Look, they're attacking the moms."
Yeah.
So they put this in the city. I think it's reasonable to suggest one of these governments would say, we need a way to take out a weapons cache or, explosive supply depot while minimizing collateral damage. Otherwise, we are going to have massive sanctions from the rest of the world. It's going to be an international incident.
So I found it here. It was a tweet from, I'm not going to say this correctly, but it has 19 million followers. It's a blue check marked news, Middle East news, Al Arabiya. And they say initial information: the explosion occurred in a Hezbollah arms store in Beirut port.
That's from Al Arabia.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. I can't.
Al Arabia, yeah. You recognize that? Is that right?
Al Arabia,
yeah.
BRK, verified Twitter account.
Yeah. So I mean, it's with almost 20 million, subs or followers.
Yeah.
So
the important thing is we're in the midst of this, and we're going to get official explanations later.
Correct.
The important thing to consider is that, depending on the circumstances, all you can really do is go with the evidence, and unfortunately, the government's not going to release all the evidence.
Yeah.
So
never.
What do? You can't make things up. So I can't stand a lot of when people have conspiracy theories about crazy things around the world. But I can say, you never just blindly trust anything you hear when it comes to war and conflict. But you can lean towards it's closer to the truth than anything else we can come up with. And then there needs to be some good investigative journalism to break down what really went on. But this does bring up a really good point about journalism in that regard that we were mentioning yesterday, the betterment of society.
Yep.
Would it be better for the people of the world to know exactly if this was an attack,
Maybe
or
not.
if that attack would lead to World War III, right? So there's the serious ethical conundrum in what do you tell people?
I always err on the fact that I feel like everyone should know. That's just where I'm
You
at.
ever read or watch the movie or comic Watchmen?
I've seen the movie. It's been a long time.
So at the end, it turns out that the bad guy, Ozymandias, staged this fake massive terror attack to unite all the countries of the world.
I don't remember that. No.
So this is the ending. The plot of the movie. Spoilers for a really, really old graphic novel. Is that the bad guy Ozymandias? You think he's a hero. He turns out to be a bad guy. He orchestrates a massive fake terror attack. so that the people of the world, depending on if you read the comic or not, we'll just call it a massive terror attack. The people of the world unite, ending the Cold War and preventing nuclear annihilation. However, one of the characters, Rorschach, is a moral absolutist. And so upon finding out, he says, I'm going to tell everyone.
Okay.
If he does, it will damn the world to nuclear annihilation. So which is the right thing to do? In the end, Dr. Manhattan, one of the characters, kills Rorschach. He's like, I have to. And then Rorschach is like, yup, do it. And then he yells, do it. And then boom, he blows up.
I remember that scene, actually.
Yeah, dude, brutal. But
familiar, yeah.
man, it's a great scene, because if you knew the truth, do the people deserve to know the truth, even if the truth could end the world and just kill everybody? That's a scary thought. You know what I mean?
I mean, when you put it like that, Tim.
Well, that's why the movie and the graphic novel are amazing.
Yeah.
It's great
That's a really
stuff.
tough question.
Yeah, it is. And then what comes next, I suppose? I think maybe tomorrow Trump comes out and says, it was an accident. Have a nice day, everybody. And that'll be the end of it. But I'll tell you what, man, it's 2020. How many of you had massive several 100-foot explosion ripping through major city on your 2020 bingo cards? Because
I'm sure somebody had it on there.
it's getting spicy, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.